today I have a guest who is a true entrepreneur in the word, meaning that, from my, knowing Tiffany is, she's a CEO of a nonprofit. She's a business owner. She's a realtor, and I'm probably sure I'm missing a couple other titles, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But Tiffany, please introduce yourself and just kind of, let everyone know more about Tiffany.
No, thanks, Keith. Yeah, I'm Tiffany Mahon. I am founder of a nonprofit organization called Modest Muse. I call myself a serial entrepreneur because I'm invested in so many different things. How? I don't know, but I have a health and nutrition bar in downtown, and I do real estate as well. Every single thing that I'm involved in has to do with the betterment of the people and providing a place for the community to just thrive. That's my mission and that's my goal. And yeah, any way that I could help and serve. I hate titles. I always, I got away from the title situation. I'm like, I don't want to be a boss. I don't want to be all of that anymore. That comes with too many responsibilities. I started calling myself a steward and just a servant at that, just to
Okay.
kind of take away some of the stress of having to perform to be this boss or CEO. But instead, I just steward everything that I have.
Got it. Well, I think, we've known each other for a little over a year now.
Mhm.
And during that time, like I said, I've seen you, progress on social media. I see the many things that you have going on, and I've been a cheerleader for you in the background. So I really am, I admire everything that you're doing with business. When I saw that, you became a realtor, I was like, all right, so she's hustling. She's doing her thing. So tell me more about Modest Muse. Let's start with that. Just so you know, I'm going to go down the line, but I like the way that you are making things happen. So that was, to my understanding, your first. That Modest Muse your first step into being an entrepreneur. Was there anything before that?
Well, I've kind of always had an entrepreneur spirit. When I was around 21, 20, well, it started with my grandfather owning a store in Atlanta, Georgia. That
Mm-hmm.
kind of started that spirit. My family came from Guyana, South America. So when they came in here, they only had one opportunity, and it's make your own way, find your own freedom. So that was kind of a spirit that was already within me. At around 23, I was able to have a lounge and club on 6th Street in Austin called Soho Lounge,
Okay.
um, kind of helped my ex fiance just get that going and started with the entire business startup process and things. Once I kind of left that situation, I was kind of on my own and I went back to the workforce and I worked 3 jobs in order to figure out what was next. Then the pandemic came, the lovely pandemic came, and
Mm-hmm.
it allowed me to lose all 3 jobs and try to figure out a way. I had to figure out what was next and what was for me. I hated the idea of having to be in someone else's office, live by their rules, and it was very limited. They only allow you to think in their box, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm an outside the box thinker. So it hindered me more than it helped me. And I realized, okay, this 9 to 5 corporate lifestyle, this is not for me. And this is coming from someone who wanted to be a lawyer and wanted to be a prosecutor and do
Mm-hmm.
all these other things. But once I realized what true freedom meant, it meant to do whatever it is that I love to do and have no limitations. So during the pandemic, I started my nonprofit, Modest Muse Org. It was something that was stirring up in me for years. I always wanted to start a nonprofit, but had no
Mm-hmm.
idea what type of nonprofit. Through my life's testimony and my situations that I went through, battling a lot of traumatic experiences in my life, I realized that there was a need for support. And I realized that there was a need for support for women like myself, who normally seems to bottle things in and just try to figure it out ourselves and feel like we can't turn to anyone or be vulnerable with anyone else because we have this idea of looking perfect and being this perfect image in this world, especially with my culture.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has to look a certain way. You have to be polished. It's something that we live by, and I wanted to do the opposite. I wanted to show that it was beautiful to be vulnerable and to be able to come together with other women, focus on collaboration over competition, and just really work together to make a difference. So Modest Muse, that's my passion. If I could quit everything that I was doing and give up every single thing, I would focus 100% on Modest Muse. I know we have a charitable initiative coming up where we're serving some of the Dallas ISD school districts for
Hmm.
prom. And when I got that opportunity, I felt like I hit $1 million. I was like,
Oh
oh my
wow.
God, this is it. You know, like I've I've closed some deals, things like that. And it was nothing like the feeling that I got whenever I knew that I could serve some other people in the community. Pretty much, we provide personal and business development resources to the community, and we host events and seminars with a charitable twist. So, I believe that as a woman and as a man, we have to focus with our mental health first. You cannot be this boss, this CEO, this entrepreneur, or a business or someone who works in the corporate setting and not be mentally there. So, I wanted to provide resources such as mental health specialists, chiropractors, holistic doctors, anything, personal trainers, whatever it is that it took for me to be the most confident self. I wanted to provide that to other women as well so that they knew that it's not only about business, it's about self care. From the personal development, once you pass all those stages, then we go into your business development. Let's get your LLC going. Let's get your marketing going. Let's start to turn your passion into profit. Because I'm a
Okay.
huge um, purpose turn to profit type person. I feel like if you chase profit, you're like a hamster in a wheel. You'll keep chasing your tail until, you can never have enough money in this world. But if you have
Hmm.
passion and purpose, that's so much more valuable than anything a dollar can do. And I wanted to show women what that looked like. And just a little bit of my background too. I was previously engaged an NFL player. I'd lived the lifestyle, the luxury, the lifestyle that most women now, when they go on social media, they dream of. I wanted to speak against that. I wanted to show people that true happiness comes from self, and there's nothing that a dollar or another person can do that you can't do for yourself. And that's kind of why I went into the entrepreneurship stuff too, because I'm like, okay, if this is what they were doing for me, I want to build this, but I want to build it myself, and I want to build it the right way where I feel free doing it as well. So yeah, we've hosted over 27 events and charitable initiatives over the last 2 years that we've been around. Working with Together We Rise Foundation, Love Haven of Dallas, Genesis Women's Shelter, Dallas ISD now. We touch so many different organizations because with our nonprofit, you can get cancer, you can get breast, you
Hmm.
can get certain why can't I say the word? Niches that people fall into. But I believe that we're so dynamic and complex that we can't just focus in on one. But if I can provide a platform where we can give where it's needed, that's how we are able to cover more mass versus just sticking to one market. So that's kind of
Okay.
us.
Okay. So I know you mentioned that, this was, the nonprofit was, it happened during the pandemic. Did that, I guess, that really put things into gear for you? Like you mentioned that, you had three jobs going on at one time, pandemic hit. And so I like how, you didn't make excuses. You kind of found a way to start your nonprofit. And so prior, to the pandemic, was this were this nonprofit in action, or did it kickstart right? Like, hey, you know what? Let me just kind of put everything on hold and start with Modest Muse.
So prior to the pandemic, yes, Modest Muse was a thing we had launched
Hmm.
prior, but I was kind of baby stepping because I kept thinking, I need this amount of funds. I need to make sure I have this
Hmm.
amount of money in the bank account before I can
The
go
hamster
and
wheel.
yes. So I was working over and over and over, working every week, saving money, and the nonprofit wasn't getting anywhere. So I think that the pandemic worked in my favor because then it was like, Tiff, you can't work. You can't focus on money because the world can't even get money right now. So you need to
Mhm.
focus on your purpose. So yeah, it was built before the pandemic, but I was not focused. I was focused on the wrong things. I was focused on, I need to be at this success level before I can get started. But then I
Mhm.
realized once the pandemic hit that it wasn't about a success level. It's how bad do you want it and how bad are you willing to make it happen? So
Yeah, and what's funny is, yeah, like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. Also, I have different investments in different businesses. But when we start, we have the vision of money, and we really don't have the vision of the purpose. So, I like how you're you have your nonprofit and you have it as a purpose. You want to collaborate, with other women. And that's just, one of the things I've seen with a lot of entrepreneurs. Because again, I tell people I have no problem telling people I failed. I failed many times, but I've learned from those failures. And that's kind of why I want to have a platform where I can talk to other business owners, other entrepreneurs who, we don't have trust funds. We don't have silver spoons in our mouth. We find a way to where we can turn a problem into a solution. And, again, I admire how you turned, one thing you want to collaborate with other women, and there wasn't a platform out there for you. So you created one. So I can really admire you, for that. So kudos to you.
And it's a journey, and that's why I feel like I wish more entrepreneurs will let people know. And this will be a book in the future where I let people know the trial that I had to go through in order to just manage these things. Finding a team is sometimes the hardest part, having that support. That's why when you're like, I'm a cheerleader, I'm like, every cheerleader counts. Because
Mm-hmm.
majority of the time you don't have cheerleaders. You're your own cheerleader majority of the time. You're the one who's having to literally pick yourself up every day and keep going, especially when you don't know what the reward is going to be. I think that's a lot of things that people don't understand as well when
Mm-hmm.
getting into entrepreneurship, is that they think that the reward is going to come immediately. You just become this owner of something, and all of a sudden you're just going to be rich and you're just going to be living lavishly and you're going to have it all together and you're free. That is not the situation. To be honest, you're a little less free sometimes because you are the marketing person, you're the entire team behind your orchestration. And if someone
Mm-hmm.
else isn't doing it, you have to be willing to step into those places, make sacrifices, and be willing to do the work to make it happen. I'm like, I
See,
can't stop making it happen.
yeah, and that's kind of the theme is entrepreneurs, they find a way. And it may be a cliche or something, however you use the word, but we, and I say we, I say entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, we find solutions.
Yeah.
We go out of our way, and sometimes it may hurt us. I'm maybe losing sleep sometimes. I may not be eating the right way because we're, like you said, we're wearing so many different hats. Whether it's marketing one day, finance the next day, project management another, and entrepreneurs, we wear so many hats. When you were starting Modest Muse, how did you know what people? Because I know you mentioned like finding people. The team can be a challenge.
Yeah.
What kind of how did you have the outlook for how you wanted your team to be?
And it's so crazy because I go through team changes all the time. As soon as it's not working, you have to be able to adjust and change your team over and over and over again. I don't know. I mean, I've read in multiple books that it takes years before you just find that team that is willing to really just get after it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially at a time like right now where no one wants to work. It's it's tough. For me, I read a lot of books. What I was gonna say too is I came from very young parents. My parents had me at like 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Um, grew up in the basement of New York City. Didn't really know anything when it came to what my next steps were going to be. So I would put myself in the library a lot. I got a criminal justice degree, but I really took out more of the business behind criminal justice and how to protect myself in a business versus, the actual criminal justice practice like police and that type of work itself.
Okay.
I would put myself in the library and I would read books and nonprofits. I actually have a team building book right now about what that team is supposed to look like. What I realized is whenever I am feeling low, I needed the right people to lift me up. I
Mm-hmm.
needed the right people around me who were willing to put themselves behind, again, servants, people
Mm-hmm.
with servant attitudes, and are willing to be selfless. Because when I look at myself and I look at how I've helped so many other people in my life, I realize that I want more people like myself, more people who are just confident in who they are, confident in what they do, and are willing to contribute to the bigger picture. Because, you know, especially doing startups, a lot of people aren't able to see the bigger picture as you are. But as long as you're able to believe in something deeper than yourself, it kind of makes it easier when it comes to recruitment. I've had to get rid of a lot of people, fill a lot of people. I've moved around in my teams a lot because when I realized what the needs are to run a nonprofit, which is focused on giving back, I needed
Mhm.
people who would be willing to give what it took to give back. So the team building one, that's a tricky one. I'm still reading on that one. Because it's different people. You have to deal with different personalities, you know. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, as long as they meet my core values, collaboration over competition, respecting self, being able, the servitude, the charitable part of things, organization, being able to respect yourself enough to respect someone else. Those are key elements in what I seek for when I'm looking
Okay.
for a team.
And one of the things you said is, you do cycle, your team. And sometimes the people that we may have on board, they're representatives,
Yeah.
in a way, meaning like the initial intent is there, but then, sometimes we may all get distracted on the purpose.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, well, and again, I can kind of see how, we all want to come together, but then the team may have a different agenda. And sometimes you gotta pull things back. And so I can really appreciate your response to that as far as, having a team that unfortunately they have to cycle, but again, it's for the best interest of your business, the best interest of your nonprofit, and just the best interest to move things forward. So I appreciate you sharing that.
And I'll say too, the profit chasing thing.
Hmm.
People will come around you because they see what your potential is and the resources that you have and things like that as well. I had to be very cautious with that, specifically because, being in the areas that I've been in, I've had a lot of people who just, what do you call it? They're kind of like leeches. They'll leech onto you and you think that they're there to help you, but they're really only there to help themselves. So that's why it goes back into that selfless demeanor. Are you willing to put yourself on the back burner? And are you willing to not chase profit for a second and chase the mission and support what's happening and know that your payout will come in the end? So,
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that as far as, they see what you have, right now. And so they gravitate towards that. And my own personal experiences, I've had people share with me, hey Keith, I want the kind of house you have, I want the kind of car you have, and this, that, and the other. And I appreciate that. And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, but do you want to work as hard as I did? Do you want to um, go through the hours and the days that I've gone through? And so you may see what I have right now, but man, you should have been there with me when, I was really going through when I needed a cheerleader.
yeah.
There are times where I've been down, I've been not, I was not 1%. And so I needed a cheerleader, but now they want to cheer for me because they look at it as the better that I do, the better that they can do. And it's unfortunate at times.
Exactly. But everyone serves a purpose. I'm grateful for every single person who's came into my life. I've never had any bad breakup with changing teams or anything like that. It's just,
Mhm.
some people come in for just a time period in your life to get you to another area and then you just keep growing. As I always believe, as the person grows, the people around them will continue to grow throughout
Okay.
the day. And then sometimes it does get lonely at the top, when people say it
Hmm.
gets lonely at the top, it really, really does, because not a lot of people can think like you.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate every single person who comes along the journey and helps in any way that they can. But some relationships just don't last that long, and it's
Yeah.
okay.
I agree. They're there for a purpose, and sometimes you just gotta, learn from it. So I agree. So now let's transition into you being a, step away from you being a steward with what you're doing. And again, I'm gonna go. I may use your wording, collaboration over competition. I like that, so I may use that. So, but now let's talk about how you got into being a business owner with your juice bar. How's that?
I'm telling you, this pandemic just makes things just fall into place. I mean, I feel like I was prepped with just the knowledge to be able to manage and run a business from the beginning. I did a lot of management and stuff in my past as well. But when it came to the pandemic, there was an opportunity that was presented, and it was either I take it and run with it or I don't. And
Hmm.
it was a major risk of faith that I was like, you know what, I'm going to walk out on this and I'm going to see what I can do and if I can make this work. Maybe about almost 2 years ago now, there was an opportunity downtown where there was just a space. There was nothing in the space. It was just a space. And they were like, hey, someone brought me in and were like, what would you do with this? And I said, a juice bar. They were like, why would you do a juice bar? I'm like,
Hmm.
we're in the middle of a pandemic. Do you know how important our health is, like, in this time right now? Do you understand how much just value you're bringing to the community by being able to invest in your health first and put your mental, because your gut health is your mental health. It all goes into play. People are getting COVID. The best way to avoid COVID is by taking care of yourself first. So that's where Taste of Gaia came about. Taste of Gaia is a health and nutrition bar downtown Dallas off of Urbane, Maine, where we provide fresh squeezed juices,
Hmm.
protein shakes, meal preps, all things health as well. We stay away from the preservatives, we stay away from the sugar. And my goal with Taste of Gaia is to bridge the gap between culture and nutrition. I do believe as a culture, we're not educated on what the foods are that we're putting in our body and what it can do. I have actually 3 friends who have healed from cancer through juicing. And
Okay.
when I, yeah, I've, and, just hearing their testimony and how they got through it through just literally putting the right nutrients and the right products into their body, they're able to heal themselves. I mean, even with the rise of COVID, my main recipe since I started elderberry and vitamin C. As long as you're putting the right supplements into your body, you're doing so much more, not only to save yourself, but to save the people around you. So that's Taste of Gaia. I just changed partnership and became sole owner
Okay.
recently.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I just brought in another minority owned Black woman that
Okay.
will come in as well and help me with that mission. And again, a lot of ups and downs with that business as well. Just transparent. The first 2 months that we opened, I had a business partner completely rob all the money from the account and shut down all the accounts. And
Mm.
completely take everything, having us to start over. I had business partners who wanted to sell it for little to no price, specifically because they thought that they were going to get an immediate reward with it. Um, I knew that in entrepreneurship, you can't give up that easy. So I kept the juice bar and I'm like, I'm going to figure this out and we're going to work this out. So, that's Taste of Gaia. It's all about just helping people take care of themselves. Our gut health is our mental health. What we're putting on our body, that's our fuel. And, you don't go put bad gas in a Ferrari. Like, you've got to make
Hmm.
sure that you're putting the right things into you in order to be able to maneuver. So,
Well, so it's impressive. Let me say that because um, dealing with business partners, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've had business partners, but I was always wary of stuff like that happening. Of a business partner, one, um, you know, just kind of being deceitful.
yeah.
They had a hidden agenda going in, and even though a person like yourself, you're wanting to make this thrive, but they're wanting to steal from you, and so, kudos to you for because again, these are things that people don't see. They don't
Yeah.
see what goes on in the background, and I'm pretty sure that you still, kept you kept your head up high, and you continue to kind of move on, even though in the background you were questioning a number of things. I know I would. If somebody, stole from me, I'd be like, damn, is it my fault? What did I do? But it's just one of those things. So again, I really want to send you kudos for continue to, put forward and just kind of find a way. So,
And
and
yeah, it's been a journey. It definitely has been a journey. And especially with working with business partners, I always thought of that. Again, I'm having to trust new business partners coming into this with me as well. And when I started, remember, I lost all my jobs in the pandemic and I had
Mhm.
what I had. And I was like, am I going to take this risk? And am I going to invest what I have into these businesses, even though I have no idea what's going to happen? Am I willing to invest, not knowing what's going to come tomorrow? Because as of right now,
Mhm.
there's no job, there's no type of anything that can come back in. But are you willing to take the risk to believe in something enough and not give up on something? Because like I said, my business partners, they lost with their initial, like they lost their initial investment and they were fine. But I was like, I did not risk that money for no reason. And if I have to take over, I'm a believer. So God provided the way at the end of the day and put the right people into my circle that I needed in order to take it to the next level. But it's still a trusting situation. I still have to trust that no matter what, there is good people in this world that will help take the mission to another level.
I agree. Um, so, you shared earlier about, your upbringing, your parents being in New York, and I'm from New York also. So if you make it there, you can make it anywhere. They kind of have that hustler mentality. They're going to, they're going to make it happen. So outside of just, what happened with, you losing, your three jobs, pandemic, what resources did you think you needed when you started your business? I mean, with the Taste of Gaia, when, you know, what did you think was going to help catapult you into success from the ground up?
I thought marketing. I thought I needed a good marketing person. I thought I needed funding outside of
Mhm.
what I could produce, and I thought that I needed a business person who's probably done it for years. I mean,
Okay.
I've been praying for this for years and none of it has came about. I've had to do it myself. But then when I sit and think about even how I grew Modest Muse, you are your biggest marketer. What you put out there is what you're gonna get. And what I always thought about is when I used to manage at this place in Fort Worth, the owner was always in there and he was always making the connections for his business. And I would always watch it and I'm like, okay, he's his biggest marketer. He doesn't even have to post on Instagram. He doesn't have to
Mhm.
post on Twitter today. Like his business is making money based off of his relationship with the people in the community. That's actually why I even got involved in businesses, is because I'm like, Modest Muse, people are loving like me being honest with myself. So people
Mhm.
are going to support based off of wanting to support someone who's doing something good. And yeah, I thought funding was going to be a thing, but I don't know. It just kind of maintains, it kind of levels itself out as you just continue to go after it. I think if I would have given up because I lacked those resources, it would have never been a thing, but there is some sacrifices that come into it. You sacrifice your lifestyle. You sacrifice so many things that I would have never thought that I would sacrifice to this day.
Mhm.
I was just talking to another business owner yesterday and they're like, yeah, I went into a 1 bedroom apartment after leaving like a mansion just so that my business would thrive. And I'm like, I understand, sometimes you have to fall back a little bit in order to move forward. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. A lot of people are not willing to sacrifice how they're living right now in order for them to be in a better place 10 years from now. So,
And I can see that as, I think that's when pride takes over. I
mhm.
can't. I don't want to downgrade because we're always faced with, we need to upgrade, we need to upgrade. But sometimes, you need a dose of reality, and you need to get back those bootstraps that you had when you first started.
Yeah.
And as we're talking, I'm going through a transition, with my business, and it is making me think about where I started 11 years ago when I
Yeah.
started my business here in Dallas. And I'm in the process of changing offices. And I'm like, you know what? This is probably what I need. I've been in my office location for about 7 years. I got comfortable, and I'm like, you know what? I probably need to change the pace and just go in a different direction. So I can definitely, see how a lot of that applies. So that's great. One of the things I wanted to ask, you mentioned marketing. I'm guessing you're using, social media, but another aspect of marketing, are you doing like any loyalty programs, and how did that work if you do?
Um, Through Square, we have loyalty programs at the shop.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty as much as we get with it right now. I
Mm-hmm.
plan on it scaling, especially because of the transition that I had to go through with the new partnership. I kind of had to go back a little bit and start from ground bottom and rebuild up. I'm using the same products because, I created the menu, I created the branding, I created the name and everything like that for Taste of Gaia. But at the end of the day, it gets a lot when you're bringing in new people who are completely new to everything that you're doing. So we do have loyalty programs with Taste of Gaia,
Mm-hmm.
especially with my nonprofit and things like that. Like we provide discounts, just different types of things just for our clients who come in and support. We partnered with different gyms in the area as well in order to provide loyalty programs for them. Um, but as of right now, it's kind of small on a smaller scale than where I see us going. Because what I even see with Taste of Gaia is franchise opportunities, opportunities on a bigger scale,
Mm-hmm.
where all of that behind the scenes is already built and in place so that we have returning customers.
Okay. Now, another thing, and again, I really believe you are a true entrepreneur. So now let's talk about you being a realtor and what made you want to. Now you have your nonprofit hat. Now you have your business owner hat. Now you have your realtor hat. What motivated you to then step into that world?
So I have three main things that kind of motivated me on that. Well, one, 99% of millionaires are normally invested in real estate. And I was like, I need to have my piece of the pie because at the end of the day, we'll never stop selling houses and land will never go anywhere. So,
Okay.
even as the pandemic just continues to do whatever it's doing, I was like, I need to be in this market. And my second one is my long-term goal with real estate. My goal is to just raise enough capital to be able to purchase my own land. And then it goes right back into my nonprofit, which is I plan on building communities for women who are going through situations. And I always call it bougie shelter, specifically because,
Mhm.
being a previous NFL fiance, I wish that I had a place that I could run to that wasn't with, maybe some drug abusers or stuff across the street.
Mm.
I wanted to create a space where you can still have a little bit of that lifestyle and have a little bit of that luxury to not make you feel like you're not enough as you're rebuilding. So that's my long-term goal, is to be able to purchase land, to produce that. And real estate, my slogan is I help people build wealth through real estate, being able to understand that market and what it looks like to be invested, and to actually have something that grows in equity and isn't something that is like a car where it does nothing for you long term.
Mhm.
A house is one of the biggest investments that you can make, and it's actually one of the most crucial investments that you can make. I would say the housing market and then stocks are two major things that you need to know how to kind of leverage in a way. And just based off of my relationships and real estate or in Modest Muse, I kept meeting people who were like, I need a place to live. Hey, I'm relocating here. I need this. And I would send all my money away to other people. And I'm like, okay, as I'm serving, let me find a way to scale on this and make real estate a priority. It's I say priority, but it's one of those things that I prefer to kind of just grow organically because majority of my clients so far have been personal relationships.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'm not having to do too much on the marketing tip when it comes to like finding other people and things like that because it kind of just comes to me because I already have that business sense. And I was reading too, real estate is a business. If you know
Hmm.
how to carry yourself as a business, if you know how to promote yourself, if you know how to take care of your clients, keep their needs first before yourself, it's just like anything else. But what I will say about real estate, I know I was talking about this yesterday, and I was like, I'm still tied to something.
Hmm.
I'm still tied to my brokerage. I'm still tied to someone who's going to want to take something from me at the end of the day. So it's a different type of entrepreneurship because most people be like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm a realtor, I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm like, you're still tied. You don't really have the freedom that you really have. But that's why my goal is buying the land and being more of an investor versus a realtor long term.
Okay. I like how we're talking about this, and you still go back into Modest Muse in a good way. How you want to give back. So even though you see yourself at a realtor right now, your long term goal is to be that steward, as you know initially kicked off the conversation. So I can really, admire that. One of the things I was told, I had a conversation with someone recently, but I think the person I'm speaking to, she mentioned everybody should have their real estate license because like you said, you were referring people, for that needed a home or an apartment, and that's money that you're missing out on. You may not have to be as actively engaged in it, but if you were to get a referral for an apartment, I had no idea that at a realtor you can still receive a commission for that. So I was like, that's very interesting.
There's a lot of money out here in the real estate game that a lot of people are missing out on. I highly recommend it. It is a patience game, I will say that, but it is what you make it. For instance, like I have a huge deal on the table right now that if I was not a realtor, I'd be like, what is wrong with you? Like, how would you
Mhm,
give this away? Um, but it's all patience. Everything is patience. And it's also who you know.
mhm.
Some majority who you know, not what you know, because you can figure out the what you know through the community around you, through the support that you have. And I mean, shoot, if I'm paying my brokerage, you better give me all the answers to any question that I have, and find that way. So I highly recommend having a real estate license in the back burner.
Yeah, like I need to look into it, myself. I'm like, yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. Just and again, just kind of just having it, just because, just having friends, family that may need, a new home or another apartment, and they're gonna pay commissions. I'm like, hey, why not? So how have you seen? Technology impact real estate. You have different websites out there now with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, people are doing virtual showings. Have you adopted that into your showings?
So technology is a really good thing for me. So I do international listings. So
Okay.
I have properties in Playa del Carmen, Barcelona, Dominican Republic, all throughout. I'm a global marketing agent as well, so I'm certified to list and well, not list, but market international properties and still receive a commission on that.
Mm.
Um, Without technology, that would not be possible. Right
Okay.
now, I have probably 4 or 5 buyers in Mexico right now that are purchasing condos. Um, if I couldn't connect with people in Mexico, that I wouldn't be able to do that. And it kind of
Mm.
makes the real estate game a little easier as well. Also, social media. Um, I do get clients through social media, through posting, utilizing LinkedIn, utilizing even through my brokerage. So EXP is actually like what they call the brokerage of the future,
Okay.
because that's all they do is utilize technology. We actually have a virtual world where our brokerage is located. We don't have a physical office. So without technology, this EXP brokerage would never even be a thing. So technology is huge in the real estate game. It connects us with people from all over. I also have buyers who come in from California, New York, Florida, things like that. But it could not have been possible if I was not utilizing the technology that I had. So it's crucial.
Okay. One of the things I like to, discuss is, a lot of times we talk about the good, share some of the not so good, because again, if I never had a mentor to kind of help guide me. I kind of learned through process elimination, failure, and finding out what works. um, and like I said, I failed a number of times, and I have some not so good stories. But if we're trying to inspire others to take that leap of faith, I don't want it to always sound like it's all peaches and cream, because it's not. It's dirty boots. It's just getting out there and just making it happen. So what would you see as kind of some challenges as being an entrepreneur?
One is staying motivated. I think people think that you just wake up motivated every day. That's not true. Um, you have to, I always say progression, perseverance, and then peace are three main things that you have to
Mhm.
be able to kind of find every single day in your day-to-day life when being an entrepreneur, because it's not going to be perfect. Entrepreneurship journey is probably one of the riskiest journeys that I think anybody could take, and it's not for anybody. So if you're not willing to put yourself behind and deal with some of the mental health situations that will come about, I will say for myself, I've broken down a lot. Like, I have
Mhm.
broken down a lot. Actually, you know what? I will say at least once a week, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, why am I doing this? Especially when you don't see a reward, because a lot
Mhm.
of people get focused on the reward and they forget about why they're doing it. As long as you stay focused on your why, it'll all make sense. But if you get focused on your reward, you're going to continue to find yourself in a loophole. Like, it's not working out. The people aren't purchasing, the people aren't supporting. People support what they feel like supporting in the moment. They don't support
Mhm.
and that's what I had to learn about that kind of the hardest way. I went through a lot of friend changes throughout the journey as well. I lost a lot of people. Well, I don't ever say
Mhm.
that I lost people. People moved out of my life because of the journey that I was taking. Um, but self-care is number one, putting yourself before your business as well. I don't think a lot of people put themselves before their business. They put their business before themselves, and that's where they lose. You are your business. The way that
Mhm.
you take care of yourself is the way that you'll take care of your business. And if you wonder why your business isn't performing, you have to wonder why are you not performing. And that's where it goes into a mental health check. But it's something that you have to do daily. Every single
Mhm.
day, I take it one day at a time. Like, literally, I live by Matthew 6:34. Take it one day at a time, because tomorrow's not processed. And as long as you're progressing today and you're taking your mental health first today, you can do anything. But yeah, it's still to this day, I'll have random breakdowns where I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? It's not
And
easy.
you said something early on, and you said it at least three times. Your mental health. I never really grasped that until recently, because it does take a toll on you as a entrepreneur. The reason being is it's not just for yourself. You have people that are looking in on you, and so you are trying to overachieve, but your mental state can only take so much, and then you're trying to give a whole lot. It's like, but I never really truly grasped mental health is a key component in your overall, like you said, self-care and your well-being. Because I can speak for myself, is you're trying to please everyone around you. You don't want to fail, because if you fail, or let me rephrase that, if you fail publicly, it's going to be like, well, what's going on, kind of thing. And like I said, I failed publicly, privately, but it does take a toll on your mental health. And so when you said that, I was like, yeah, you're right. So, and as anybody that's getting into the role of a business owner or entrepreneur, they should take their mental health into consideration. Because again, this is not for the weak. You have to be motivated. You have to be strong, and you have to put in the time, make the sacrifices to make it happen. So I agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah, I think people belittle the mental health aspect of things, and that's why you find a lot of just billionaires and things like that unhappy at the end of the day. I think even Bill Gates or one of them recently were just saying that they just wish that they would have been more present in their life. More present on. We get the overachieving, but that's where I even had to realize, because I suffered with overachieving. Like, I got to be this. I graduated before everybody in my family. I was always on top of everything. I'm making sure that I'm students all my life, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting all the good grades, and I'm just always being this great person. And I realized it was really toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just have to live in your moment and live in your reality, and also defining what failure means. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people fail to define failure. What does it mean that to what does it mean to fail? Does it mean that you just didn't want to get up today? Like, does it mean that, tomorrow you needed to put off your business for a month? I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people fail mentally before they fail physically. And the reason why they fail mentally is specifically because they're not doing the work internally to just love themselves daily and to put themselves first daily, because we're always putting other people first, especially as an entrepreneur. We become people pleasers without even knowing it. You know, we're always trying to please the people around us, because even with our business, we're trying to please people. We're trying to find that target demographic, please them.
Mhm.
What can I do to make them like me? Versus let me like me and understand that everything else will organically fall into place where it needs to be, as long as I like me enough.
Well, man, I really appreciate you sharing that last bit because again, we can always show the sunshine of a business, but the rainy days, not many people can really, understand what goes on, and not just behind the scenes, but entrepreneurs. It's not for the weak, and it may, they say most businesses may fail within, 2 to 3 years, but I've always asked myself, who is they? You know, I got to start thinking about, hey, if I fail, I'm going to learn from that and just kind of pick myself back up. But I never really understood who they really are. I got to, continue to have my faith, and just really just keep moving forward with anything that I'm doing, even outside of just outside of being a business owner, just making the right steps and, like you said, just kind of progressing. And so I appreciate you sharing that because the whole mental health, that can be one of the areas of development that we need to make sure that we have in place as we become an entrepreneur. And the reason why I started an area of development, because I had a conversation with somebody and they are not a big fan of the word weak. And so they replaced the word weak with, I need to develop in this area. And so, and entrepreneurs, that's what we can do, to kind of continue to thrive and continue to, move forward. Because again, it's not what we're going to see on TV. It's not what we're going to have always around us. We're going to have challenges, and you just got to move forward from it.
And that's why I like what you're doing as well, specifically because, especially as a woman, we see all these women who are becoming these bosses and have all these followers on Instagram and doing all these things that look so extravagant in person. And then, people not being able to tell your story, you don't really understand how they started.
Mhm.
Like, did you have a husband that was able to propel you? Did you have, because everyone's story is different. And you have to be able to relate to someone's story as well, just so that you can know that you're not in this journey by yourself. We go through it.
Yeah,
So,
and like with that journey is everybody had a different perspective. Everybody had a different outlook. Everybody had a different approach. You can have 10 doctors in a room. They all probably came from different perspectives. I was looking at something the other day with the Supreme Court, and it showed all of the Supreme Court judges and the different categories of what they've done to get there. And it wasn't the same. Even though at the end of the day, their title is the same as Supreme Court, their journey of getting there, was very different. And so there is no right way of doing it. And I tell people, as an entrepreneur, you're not going to learn this stuff in the textbook. You're not. This is real world experiences. So I really thank you for sharing your story, sharing your experiences, and I'm pretty confident that there are going to be a couple of audience members who are going to listen to your story and hopefully start a journey of doing a nonprofit, being a business owner, or just doing something for themselves. So I really appreciate you being a guest on Make It Happen. And if you don't mind, if you can share some of your social tags, that would be great.
yeah, of course. And thank you for having me. But I'll share my social tags. And then I also want to say, affirm what you want over your life. I think a lot of people kind of belittle the idea of how much power their tongue truly has. If
Mhm.
you believe you will do it, you have to speak it. You know, I am wealthy. I am an entrepreneur. I am living a life of abundance. You know, people belittle themselves so much and don't realize that what their words are doing to kill them, because words will kill. So write it out. That's also why I have my manifestation journal, so that people can utilize that as a resource to watch things prosper as they speak life into their life. Yeah, positively affirm things. Make sure that you're speaking what you want into existence. You are healed. You know, we are healed. I had to do that a lot as I was healing on my journey, and just, we are enough, because sometimes the reason why we overachieve is because we think that we're not enough. So I always, every day, I'm confident I'm enough, and I will make it happen. And my social media tags are, you can follow myself at Tiffany Sharonda, TIFFANYSHARONDA, or my nonprofit is at Modest Muse, MUSE.org. And then I have Taste of Gaia. So Taste of GAIA.
Okay. Well, again, I really appreciate you sharing your story on Make It Happen, and I'm look forward to continue being a cheerleader and seeing how you continue to progress. So thank you.
And vice versa. Every cheerleader needs other cheerleaders. So I'm here to cheer you on too. This is going to be a great day.
I appreciate it. All right. Thank you.